to the self-learning platform by Dr. Shishma Singh. Today we start Unit 22, Fundamentalism. Topic is comparing fundamentalism. Religions like ideologies vary. They differ in their potential for becoming fundamentalist. The more monolithic a religion or ideology is, the more are the chances of its turning to fundamentalism. Islam and the evangelical Protestant strand of Christianity are monolithic religions. They believe that there is just one God. They are also dogmatic. They believe it is possible to express His or God's nature and will in specific propositions. Both these things are the necessary preconditions for fundamentalism. Hinduism as a religion in the context of Islam and Protestant Christianity as they are is less monolithic and dogmatic and hence less fundamentalistic. There are a number of reasons for that. There is diffuseness in Hinduism, different deities, a variety of gods. So diffused is the society as well. A variety of traditions, groups, sects. It may be, Bruce says, better described not as a religion, but as a loose collection of religions, that of the Shivites, the Vaishnanas, the Shaivakas, and the Smartas, and others, that share some common themes, but they tolerate a huge variety of expressions of these themes. As those expressions can vary from village to village and caste to caste, there is a little scope for enforcing conformity, criticizing laxity, or vigorously rejecting the moderate reconstructions of the tradition. Instead of the single Bible or Quran, there are a large number of holy books and holy traditions. Hindu fundamentalism is rare and arises only when anti Hindu fundamentalism challenges it within itself. Revivalistic attempts have been at work in Hinduism, sometimes in the form of Buddhism, Jainism, or Sikhism at any early period of history, or in the form of Brahmo Samaj, Arya Samaj, Ramakrishna Mission, or Ved Samaj during the greater part of the 19th century. Orthodoxy has always been met with revivalism in Hinduism. To that extent, the arguably monolithic religions such as Judaism, Christianity, and Islam offer relatively more fertile soil for fundamentalism than Hinduism. Protestantism and the Islam have much in common. Their potentials are the same. Both can generate fundamentalism. Their aims are similar. Each wishes to assert the primacy of its religious belief systems and the patterns of behavior each belief system requires. But both differ in their methods. The Islamic fundamentalists believe that caution is proper. Most of them believe that it is necessary as well. while others feel that it is required, declaring jihad literally. The Protestant fundamentalists do not believe so. Christian preached against the old law of eye for an eye and instead recommended to offer another check to the person who has already hit the first check. Though radical Protestants have created militant sects, the Protestants are relatively pacifists. Protestants and Islamists differ in their attitudes to tolerance. By and large, the Protestants are tolerant, while the Islamists are less so. The USA, for example, permits freedom of religious expression and attempts to prevent the state promoting one religion as superior to any other. As against this, most of the Islamic countries are far less tolerant. Referring to this, Bruce writes, "Note that this is a matter of description and not value judgment. Nothing about what I have said requires us to believe that permissiveness is better than authoritarianism. Differences in the two monolithic religions can be cited in abundance, but that apart, what is more significant here is that Islamic fundamentalism is more potent and more severe than Christian fundamentalism. We can turn to them briefly. Christianity and politics for most of the time stayed apart. It became official religion of the Roman Empire in only AD 373, though it was officially tolerated from 60 years before, that is 313 AD. During the Middle Ages, the theory of the swords kept the two domains, temporal and ecclesiastical, distinct from each other. The Reformation not only brought to the fore the two sects, Catholics and Protestants, it made religion a private affair of the individual. Liberalism in the West is not due to Christianity but due to its absence. Levi's says the distinction between the church and the state is rooted in Christendom. This is not to say that Christians are not religious. They are as religious minded as the followers of any other religions. Many of them live a lifestyle which is particularly gaudy. Bruce says the core of Protestantism is correct belief, not correct action, orthodoxy rather than orthopraxis. With the emergence of modern state, century after century, Christianity remained aloof from the state. Though most of the citizens in the Western nation were Christians, Christian fundamentalists, in relation to the state and the law, operate in a more legitimate manner and largely in secular countries. Islamic fundamentalism is more pronounced, more vocal, and more action oriented. From the beginning, Islam, unlike Christianity, remained political. The Prophet and the subsequent Caliphs were both spiritual and political leaders. The founder of Muslim Brotherhood, an Islamic fundamentalist organization, puts it as politics is part of religion. Caesar and what belongs to Caesar is the God Almighty alone. The Islamic fundamentalist promotes a lifestyle which is not only conformity to the creed, it demands action also in conformity with what the fundamentalists want. A hostage held by Hezbollah puts the case of Islamic fundamentalism, saying, all our activities from the way we slept to the way we entered a laboratory were watched so that we could not violate the laws of Islam. Khomeini had written that on entering a laboratory, a believer must put his left foot forward first. We were taken to task for violating that rule. And Bruce adds, for Islam, religion is a matter of obeying the holy law, as what requires is obedience to the law. Then its imposition is not just acceptable but necessary. Most of the Muslim countries, especially in the Middle East, have not been able to shed their religion, which is Islam, despite all their efforts to westernize themselves. Islam for them is more than a religion. It is their eye. It is their way. The Islamic fundamentalists in relation to the state operate largely in theocratic countries and seek Muslim brotherhood and Islamic unity. Summary of the unit. Religion as a basic urge of mankind cannot be altogether ignored, but when it, along with any fundamentalist ideology, tends to get personalized in leadership, and when the latter speaks for religion while ignoring all reasoning, it becomes fundamentalism. Fundamentalism is not religion, it is the perversion of religion. A fundamentalist is one who considers his religion separate from others, claiming its superiority. He is the one who has faith in what he thinks to be the creed, instead of a devotee of a religion or a follower of an ideology. He becomes its spokesman, its prophet, and wants all the rest to conform. He is a doctrinaire to the extent of an impositionist. He is an impositionist to the extent of a terrorist. Fundamentalism of any time is extremism. It has as its strength all faith and no reason, all hatred for others and no compassion, all doctrinal conformity and no love. In the name of religion, it does all that which is irreligious. It misinterprets the precepts and the original creed. It ill-educates the disciples. The fundamentalist of any type is rigid, uncompromising, and aggressive. He never listens, he only speaks. He never follows, he only guides. He himself becomes the teacher, the philosopher, and the guide. He has more enemies than friends. He is secretive in his activities, more or less a misguided fellow. Fundamentalism has its base, its means, and its objectives. Its base lies in untruth. Its means are confined to violence, and its objectives are to let terror rule the world. It arises from time to time, but it has never seen victory and would never do so. End of this lecture, and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you so much for your attention.